Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Kingfisher Fish and Chips and Old Zoological Bar in Hull. Tonight, I'm joined by Ant and Joe to discuss a defeat with Leeds and 13 chances, although I think only 4 of them since we last spoke. And I'm your host, Nathaniel Whitto.
5.
Did we sign 4 on deadline day then?
4 on deadline day, 5 if you count Puerta on, was it Monday or Tuesday?
I've completely forgotten that we signed Casey Palmer, which won't be the first time.
Ara and Balumi.
Yes, you're quite right. So 4 on deadline day, 5 overall. I suppose, Ant, we've not actually spoken to you for a few weeks.
No.
How have you thought about the start to the Volta regime?
I think we haven't really looked like we can win a game. I think Leeds was easily our best performance under Volta, barring maybe the second half at Sheffield Wednesday, which we just utterly dominated.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell that, because I think context is important at the minute. We have to take a step back and realise that this has been a total rebuild, like from scratch. Brand new manager, brand new system, brand new set of players. A lot of them coming from different countries. They've all never played together, and then we're going to chuck them on a pitch and expect them to all win games. So it was always going to be a tough start. I think we always knew that because we'd done our transfer business so late, that August was always going to be a bit of a write-off. So any points that we get this month was a bonus. I went into the Leeds game thinking that we'll probably lose, but you wanted to see a good performance. You wanted to see something that suggests that the team are starting to get it, that we're getting into that position now that we might actually be, competent in this system going forwards. And I think we got that for the best part of an hour. I think the second goal knocked the stuffing out of us. But for the most part of that game, we matched Leeds all over the pitch, I thought. And you'd like to think that now, obviously, with the international break coming at the perfect time, that he'll be able to get all these new lads on the training pitch together, iron out some of the tweaks in the system that clearly need to be ironed out, and then get all the new lads and, basically find out what our strongest 11 is going forward. So I think that we can see signs that it's getting there. Obviously, it's just being patient enough to wait for it to click, because unfortunately, Sheffield United is a tough game and we might be looking at 6 games without a win.
Yeah, we might be. I think most people don't like that the international break comes so soon into the season. I mean, the Premier League is 3 games, for the Championship is 4. But with the amount of signings that we've made over the last few summers, and it's 13, it is 13. I'm not getting that wrong, am I? Pretty sure it's 13. 15
signings, 13 in August.
I see. 15 signings, then that 2-week break probably does come at a good time, especially after a defeat, perhaps. If we'd won, we want to get on. Yeah, Joe?
Isn't there another break in October as well?
Yeah, there's always so many so soon into the season. You just want to get going, really. And
in our case, it's quite good.
We need him, but he's annoying.
Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of people rave about Zambrano yesterday. I thought he didn't really get on the ball very much against whoever we played last week, Millwall, but it seemed like he was getting a bit more involved. And same with Bedier, he had a good effort, tipped over by Meslier. Those 2 new signings, might be bedding in a little bit. What did you think of them, Joe?
Well, Zambrano was good, broke up the play really well, and he'd have seen more in terms of actual possession. I think in the whole game he had something like, I think he made 25 passes and that was it in the whole game when you compare. So I think Zambrano had about 25, Malem had 22, I think, and Slater had 7. And when you compare that to the Leeds game last year, Seri and Morton had over 100 passes between them. So the midfield just were being bypassed quite a lot of the time. And that obviously doesn't help Zambrano in terms of getting on the ball and what have you. But when he did, you can tell he's still getting adapted to English football. There were a couple of times he gave it away in quite dangerous areas where he thought he'd have a little bit more time than he did. But he'll get used to that as he plays more and hopefully doesn't get banned. Then he broke up play well, found himself some space quite a lot, but the centre-backs just seemed to forget he existed as we were trying to move out from the back. As for Bedia, he looks a handful. Certainly gave Pascal Strike a few issues, but equally, we didn't get a lot of service either, because we've got a big lad in there now, and Miller was just frightened to use his left foot. Didn't want to put a cross in at all. And then Giles didn't want to overlap Miller to put a cross in. And the one time he did in the second half, Miller didn't pass it to him when he had an easy ball on and gave the ball away. So there's no point having a 6'3" big lanky striker up there if he's not going to get the service. And the best service for him is to put it in the box. He had the ball to feet a couple of times and held it up well, but when he's in the positions in the penalty area and he's got the height, unlike maybe Oscar, to get up and fight for aerial duels with defenders and make it difficult. We didn't give him the opportunity to do that. And that's something we've got to work on. They're always doing crossing in the warm-ups, but they never actually do it in game. And it's so frustrating.
It sounds a bit like how we didn't play to Tom Eves' strengths in the past, and then Oscar's and maybe Bedia's.
He had no weakness.
I thought you were going to say he had no strengths, which is probably close to the truth. Bless him.
That's poor.
It is frustrating though, because I was saying this to Joel on the way back after the game, that I think Ryan Giles is the most frustrating part of this team for me, because we've got a fullback that we know has proven at this level countless that he can cross the ball and do assists. He got 20 odd assists in 2 years. And then last season, you kind of put it down to maybe it was just Rosinia's system that kind of held him back and we didn't see the best of him. And then you're thinking, we've got a system here where the fullbacks are really encouraged to get as high as they possibly can. You're thinking, we're going to see what Giles is really capable of this season. And he just seems allergic to overlapping. I can't understand why he won't do it. I don't know if he's been told not to do it. But whenever we get the ball out to Miller, he always sits back and waits rather than pushing on and taking a defender away from Miller. And then it allows Miller to be doubled up upon. So yeah, it's quite frustrating at the minute, especially like Joe said, we're just not crossing the ball. And I think it then adds to more frustration from the fans. You can sense it in the stands sometimes. And then when we get corners, we always do a short corner. We just whenever we've got an opportunity to put the ball in the box, they don't do it, and it's really weird and frustrating. But I can only hope that we'll get there, because I think Volta does look very angry sometimes when we turn around and decide to start again rather than getting it in the box. So I think he has told them to cross it. It's just players making decisions, which for the last 2 or 3 years has been our biggest problem, is decision making in the final third.
For people watching on YouTube, you did just see two Joes at once there. I don't know what he's doing either.
Yeah, internet.
Look, we've got Joe back. Oh no, I don't know if you can see him. Well, that's fun. Yeah, it would be a shame if we didn't get the best out of Giles, especially after spending quite a lot of money on him as a championship club. Because you're right, he kept saying, in terms of sort of especially an attacking left back, we're probably not going to get anyone better in the championship, especially as a non-parachute payment club. But not quite seen the best of him yet. But it's still early days in this season under the new manager. I know he's played for Rossini before, so we've actually seen a bit of him, for the club. But maybe you'll be part of that 2 weeks, Volta saying maybe you should actually do what you're good at, because I don't think he's defensively the best left back. I think McLaughlin probably, I don't know whether he made as many mistakes on the ball as he has done in previous games, but it's probably at fault for the first goal. Why do you think we've not seen Charlie Hughes make his debut yet?
I think personally it's just because I think initially it was because we'd only just signed him, and you're not going to just chuck a new signing straight in sometimes. And then obviously we've got a clean sheet against Millwall, so you can't really drop your centre half after you've got a clean sheet. But
in which McLaughlin had a stormer.
He did play well.
Yeah, he did play well against Millwall. He was very slow in letting Joseph get in front of him for the first goal at Leeds, but I think the plan obviously will be we won't have spent the amount of money we did on Hughes for him to not play. I think obviously after the international break, when he's got the whole team together and he's got that time to work with everybody and have a look at what his strongest 11 will be, I think you'll probably see Hughes come into the starting lineup after that. But I think there's at this minute, if you were to guess what our strongest team is, I think you'd be maybe it'd be really difficult because especially midfield. Because like, do you put Puerta in there? Where does Omer play? Because you expect Kamara to come in on the right. Then do you move Omer central? I mean, he's been underwhelming this season so far, Abdush, I think, but he's definitely better in the middle. But yeah, the Maka and Hughes one I think is just inevitable. It's like whenever we sign a goalkeeper and Ingram was in goal, we always knew eventually it was going to happen. I think it's a similar situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably true. And or after we've signed the two transfers, the two wingers on deadline day, Jarvis, I'm not sure he had a great game. He's looked pretty decent so far in the season, but I think he may well have played his last game for a little while because we've got Omer that can play there, Miller, and then also
Jarvis,
two new signings.
He didn't get helped out by the fact Walter made an attacking change when we were up against it already, I think. There's a time and a place for attacking changes, and that just wasn't one of them. We put Abdush as an attacking midfielder in the midfield, and we lost a little bit of that. Not so much stability, because we definitely lost the midfield battle over the course of the game, but we had a defensive body in there, Slater, a grafter, a hard worker, put in the hard yards. Abdush as a more advanced player, as a more attacking player, will do that. And that left Javo, and that left everyone a little bit exposed, really. And when Javo gives the ball away, or Giles pulls out of a tackle, it means we're more exposed. So I'm not saying he should never have brought Jarvis on, because he was one of the players, again, who was direct and drove at the Leeds midfield when he came inside, and Junior Fairput at left back. But he shouldn't have brought him on to put Abdush centrally. If he was going to do that, he needed to bring off Malem for Jarvis and then move Abdush that side. But it's interesting with, we all say moving Abdush centrally, and in the more advanced Malem role, he should be, better than he was essentially on Saturday. But Malem, out of all of our new signings, I'd say has looked best. So it'd be harsh to drop him, I think.
Yeah. Maybe Omer's missing you, and because you've moved to Trabzonspor.
Yeah. Omer's form this season is a weird one, because I think a lot of us expected him to have a really big year this year, so it has been disappointing to see his form drop off a little bit. I don't know, maybe if he's trying to take too much responsibility. I mean, he does a lot of tracking back still. Like, that side of his game is still there, that tenacious, that industrious bit that we all appreciated last season, the tracking back and the last-ditch tackle. He made a superb tackle in our own box to stop a lead shot, which probably would have been a goal. It's just we're not seeing enough creativity from him and obviously that end product. But I think the whole team is really struggling with that end product at the minute. Their decision-making in the final third, I think, epitomised by when Jarvis burst into the Leeds box in like the 91st minute, and he could just cut onto his left and shoot, or pass earlier, and he took too long and then made the wrong pass, and the chance is gone. And it's just like, especially when you've got two wingers now that we can bring on off the bench instead of Jarvis, I think, he's going to see his game time drop significantly now. But it's just, with Omer, I do think he looks better central, but I also think he's been a victim of the fact that the quality of the squad's dropped a lot. And obviously he's also playing with a lot of players he's never played with, and he's maybe drifting into space and people aren't finding him, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a weird one on there, but I think he'll get there eventually. We all know how good he is.
Yeah, he's probably our most gifted player, you'd think, highest caliber player, or sort of status from coming from Trabzonspor, and we definitely saw it last year. But maybe he just still he needs that goal, doesn't he? He just needs his first goal. It'll come at some point. I don't know whether he's actually had many chances this year. Anything else? No, not really.
He's been isolated too much in games out there. Get him involved in the middle, and he's, stuff will happen. But just in terms of going forward, I think we need. So I do think we need him centrally, although it'd be harsh on Malem, just because, like, I don't see where goals are going to come from at the minute. I really, really don't. And we can hope that Kamara and Balumi can add something. Longman, when he's back fit, he had a good pre-season. So hopefully he picks up that form again. But yeah, it's just a case of, will we look back at this in December and say, at this first half of the season, and say, had we got in that third striker, would things be different? Because I'm not writing off Bedia and Burstow already, but I don't see in them, based on Burstow's record last year. Yeah, but he's a young player. I accept that. And I want him to do well for us. And the same for Bedia. He's not really scored prolifically anywhere he's been. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at Union Berlin, because although there were 7 games in there were only just over 100 minutes that he played. So they were all off the bench and he got a goal. But the only standard he's scored prolifically at throughout his entire career is the Swiss Super League.
I don't really know if that's the best level of football, do we?
Rachopi came from there and he looks all right. Well, apart from his little mishap.
And he might be third choice now as well.
Yeah, he's probably going to be third choice keeper now. So it's an awkward one. I don't really see Badia or Burstow being our 15, 20 goal a season striker that we need, and that any team with promotion ambitions needs. And I know we've got promotion ambitions, but I don't see them coming of anything this season anyway.
I think the thing is the transfer window. So I put a tweet out on our pod account asking everybody to rate the window out of 10. And I think the vast majority were like 5, 6, 7 were probably the highest that I'd seen. Wow. Okay. But the when you look at it, we've lost all of our goals last season. So, from the summer, all the goals have gone. And then you look at this current squad, and I don't think I can point out a single player I think that will get 10 plus. And that's why that third striker was so important to get, and why you've got to do your business so early in the window, because when you're scrabbling for a striker on deadline day, you've got every other team in the league that are after the same strikers at the same level. They know that you're desperate for a striker, so can charge a premium for them. And I think the biggest criticism we can have of the transfer window this year is that we let all of our best players go without having a replacement set up. No matter what Adjan says about if players want to go, we're not going to stand in their way and say, no, you can't go because we need you, kind of thing. But you do, especially when you go into the kind of rebuild that we're having. You've got to make sure that you're protecting the future of the club at this season, because let's say so Jacob Greer's gone, we brought Charlie Hughes in. That's fine. That's like his replacement in it. But then you're looking at Tufan, Connolly's gone, Delap's gone, Philigine's gone, Cavalio's gone. Did we really replace any of them? Like, we needed that big name striker, and they should have got it done early. And I know we tried to get some and missed out on them and things like that, but our three striking options, so Badia, Burstow, and Sellers Fleming, have all got 2 championship goals between them.
Yeah,
and we've got this team now till January. So the worry is, where are the goals coming from? Hopefully, Badia hits the ground. It does look a handful, but there we go.
It's just 1 championship goal, isn't it?
Burstow scored 2 last season, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
He scored 1. I think he's only scored 1. But if it's 1 or if it's 2, it's still not amazing.
1 or 2, it's not much better.
Exactly.
It's not much difference.
I mean, I think the finances are definitely there. We've spent a lot of money. We've probably spent between 10 and 15 million pounds this summer. I think the ambition was clearly there, because we'd agreed deals with the clubs, at least for Kiefer Moore and Thomas Asante. I think the issue this year hasn't been that they're not showing ambition, which you can have owners where you complain that they don't show ambition, or owners that don't spend money. It's been a sort of third factor that, and it's sort of a snowball effect. If you get a good signing early on in the window, which we didn't, it took us quite a while to sign a player, then other players see, oh, this is a good club to go to. Whereas when we heard, the reason Thomas Asante was apparently distraught to think about signing for City because we don't look like a promotion sort of team this year, we've just waited too long, and we probably just don't look as quite as an exciting prospect. And I'm sure Rossini leaving has got to be part of that, because it always seemed to be him and Adjan, their persuasive ability to sign players. And then Adjan, of course, has been dealing more with Fenerbahce than he was.
Well, yeah, like he wasn't in the country on deadline day, and you can read into that what you will, but he was pictured with Sofian Amrabat at Fenerbahce, so that was clearly his priority. But could we have done with an extra body trying to get a striker deal? Perhaps, especially someone like Adjan. And when it comes to persuasion, I'm sure Walter has his own. I'm sure Walter talks to players in negotiations. That won't just be unique to Liam Rossini.
I don't know. I think we overplay this lure that Liam Rossini had. I think any of the big signings we made last season were Adjan. I think the only real probably credence you can give to Rossini will be the players that he knows from if he's played with them in the past or worked with them in the past. He utilised those connections to bring them here. I don't think realistically he had a big pull other than what a normal manager does. I think Adjan is the main instigator in any of our transfer dealings and always will be.
I disagree with you slightly, because Rossini, when he did a little piece on players as people for, I'm not sure whether it was the LMA or for Coach's Voice or something like that. But he said, look, the convincing factor in Fabio Carvalho coming to City was Liam sitting down with him and talking to him, not just about the style of play, but like about him coming from the same area in London, getting to know them as people, and whether that plays into it. And, because Adjan will probably be sell the dream. Liam might have been sell the dream, but in a different way in terms of get to know them as people. Walter doesn't strike me anyway as the same sort of people person that Liam Rossini was. So perhaps that plays into it. I don't know. I'm purely speculating at this stage.
That's what I mean, but that's all hypotheticals. So we can all sit here and say maybe we're not signing the same quality of players because Rossini's gone. Realistically, we don't know. I think when you're a player, ultimately, when you're signing for a club, you're looking at, am I going to play? What's my wages? And what's your plans? What's your ambition? They're the three things that a player is realistically going to be looking at when you're signing for a club. I think Rossini talks a good game, but when realistically you're looking at, I don't know, if I was a creative player and I'm looking at like a Rossini team, you're thinking, yeah, he's gonna, hype me up a lot in training and stuff. But on the pitch, is he gonna let me run at players and take them on, or am I gonna have to turn around and pass the ball, kind of thing? Whereas if you're an attacking player and you look at Tim Walter, who's meant to be doing this, I know we've not seen it yet, but say this system now where the attacking players are encouraged to basically have free license to do as they please, I'd be like, yeah, no, that sounds appealing. So the only thing we can talk if buts and maybes. I think the quality of signings we've had this year has been good. I just think ultimately the transfer market looks a little bit more drab than it was because we didn't bring in that proper, consistent goal-scoring striker.
Well, why do you think the signings? I mean, I think the signings have been good. I think especially, last summer, I'd say the transfers this summer have ever been slightly worse than last summer because we haven't got like a wow player like Philogene, but definitely worse in January because, of course, I think we were in a good position then. It makes more sense to get in players of a higher caliber because we were already in the playoff chase, whereas I don't know whether we are. But why do you think maybe we haven't got some of the better players like a Carvalho or someone? Because I think the finances you mentioned, players coming in definitely going to play because we didn't have anyone else, so they got to, if you think of it from that way. And I think one of the main things that's changed is the manager. So why do you think it's changed?
Good question, that.
It's got to be a few things. I think second with senior, unless we go up this year, I still think it'll be a crazy decision. Or not maybe crazy, but wrong.
Oh, but you're not allowed to mention his name now, Nathaniel. Stop whinging. It's in the past.
I think if he'd been sacked, because we had a poor end to the season, but we did still finish 7th. If we'd been rubbish, finished 15th, then you wouldn't talk about it anymore. But I think anytime managers or players leave and you feel like they could have just stayed a bit longer, that's why the Lewis Potter link will keep coming back, because unlike Bowen's playing and he's the West Ham captain, Lewis Potter doesn't play as much. So you think, maybe he could come back because he's not moved on and succeeded elsewhere in a sense. But I think Rosenior, I still feel like he'll come back at some point. So that's why he's mentioned so much, because I don't think he should have left or should have been sacked.
For me as well, just from like a fan's point of view, I think Rosenior was, he endeared himself more to the fans. Was part of that immediately because he was an ex-player, yes.
Yeah.
But like I say, Valter just doesn't strike me as the same sort of people person that Rosenior was. So, we're at an awkward stage, aren't we? Where we've brought in X amount of new players, a lot of them unknowns: Puerta, Zambrano, Malem, Bedia, Bellumi. Bellumi's a bit like Ohio last year. He's like the ultimate unknown signing.
Yeah, we hadn't even heard of him before deadline day. It might have been 11 or 12 when we heard that we were potentially going to sign him. So that one feels, I don't even think he might not actually be in Hull yet. So yeah, totally on that one.
Just like Uriel Felly then.
Yeah.
We'll never see him in a Hull City shirt, I don't think.
Definitely not.
But I do also think that as a fan base, we need to, context is so important at the minute. And I think because of last season, because of where we finished, there's always going to be, we should be up there again this season. But realistically, when you're changing your entire squad with a brand new manager, a brand new style of play, we've got nowhere near the same caliber of players as what we did last season. No. Last season's failure has cost us this year. That's literally the bottom line of it, is the fact that we had, one of the best squads, certainly outside the top 4, and still didn't finish in the top 6, means that the gamble we went for in January and the money we spent has now backfired on us. And we've got to get to a position where we can try and rebuild the squad. I like that they've gone for a transfer approach of permanence now, because they want to build players that are going to be here, because we were very reliant on obviously the loan players last season. So I like that we're going young. I think we don't have a single player over the age of 30, do we? So the squad age has dropped significantly.
Is that oldest player 28?
Yeah, look. So we've got a squad that's young. They've all got high potential. You're looking at that sell-on value for a league club. That's got to be the way you go to be sustainable and make money. So yeah, there are a lot of things we're getting right about the club, but people are focusing too much on the fact that we've yet to win a game. But to me, this month was always a write-off anyway. I don't know what we expected. You can't just throw 11 players together that have never played together. Some of them even from a different country, and just expect them to hit the ground running. It doesn't happen. You've got to give it time. And I think this international break, where he's got those 2 weeks to work with the players, obviously barring Miller and Palmer because they're away on international duty, but he's going to get that squad on the training pitch and work with them and iron out some of the problems, find out who's going to be playing where. And then you'll start to see, I reckon it won't be until late October, November-ish that we'll start to see what this squad's actually capable of. So people just need to be patient, I think, because this was always going to be a season of rebuild and consolidation for me. Mid-table's the aim. So, I think we're on course for that. We've played all right. We've only lost once. Yes, we haven't won. And we've not played particularly too great for large periods of many of the games, but we're still in it.
It's not a disaster, is it?
Yeah, we've not been hammered, have we? Once, we've not come out of a game thinking, bloody hell, what on earth? What's happened here? I can see progress in this team. You can see them getting better. You can see that the transfers that we've made are good. It will get there, but fans were emotional, invested in the club, whatever it is. But I think we've got to just temper the expectations a bit. Just give them some time.
Yeah.
What you said about goals though earlier, and where we've lost, I think it's all bar 3-4 of our goals last year. Jones got 1, Slater got 1. 3 then, because Coyle only got 1 last year, didn't he? We've also lost half of our goals from this season as well in letting off to go.
That's true. That's concerning, isn't it? Very concerning. I mean, at one point it looked like Liam Cooper, if we signed him, he would be the team in the league with the most championship goals. I mean, Ant, I bet you're delighted that we didn't sign him, which doesn't normally happen. We're usually happy that we do sign players.
Absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah. Good. That's all we need to say about that.
You see, the thing is there's a lot of talk about people didn't want him just because of his affiliation with Leeds, and he's as a playing in terms of a playing style, it also doesn't suit us. He's not fast enough. So on the break and in transition, we would be incredibly vulnerable with him there. He's not good enough on the ball, and he wouldn't be starting. And with him coming from a team like Leeds, his wage demands would probably be one of the highest in the team. Do you really want to be spending that kind of money for somebody who's not going to play? I don't. Like, it's a waste of wages. The target should have been a striker. That should have been the ultimate number one priority from the off, and we never got it sorted.
I think it was, but we just didn't. We just didn't go off. I don't think Cooper was prioritised over a striker or anything like that. I just think went for Kiefer Moore, didn't come off. Thomas Asante, I don't think would have been the be-all and end-all striker. I still think he'd have been a winger option more so than a striker. But again, didn't come off. And that left us scrambling a little bit. So I don't think it was I don't think anyone was prioritised necessarily over a striker. I think it was just we left ourselves short.
Shall we analyse what Ajahn has said about the player? I think the exact quote, but well, I'll just paraphrase. But we're going to sign a really good striker. That's what Ajahn essentially said.
Who will get me the rest of the league stand up, sit up, take notice that we're serious. Ajahn, don't. I said this earlier in the window, and I got pelters for it because I went on a holiday afterwards. That apparently you can't slag the owner off and still benefit from the good things they're doing for fans. So to anyone thinking that, swivel on it, because I'm going to go again. Shut your mouth, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Learn to keep your mouth stum. He did it twice this window with a striker. Once it turned out to be Kiefer Moore, a striker you'll all love, is coming in, is signing next week. Know what happened with that? And then again, you promised a striker who would... Well, Tan said, we're in talks with one that will change the dynamics of the championship. That's a strange quote. But again, it was just talks, maybe didn't agree a deal, whatever. But Ajahn, don't speak until a deal is done, for Christ's sake.
I think it's just he just wanted to raise the spirits amongst the fan base because like he admitted, he reads Twitter and stuff, doesn't he? So he can see that people were being a bit worried and whatnot. I think he just said stuff that's what he does. Like, that's his job. That's how he's made his career. But I think the most alarming thing is I don't actually think we were ever in for any of these caliber of striker that he said we were. Because if you think about it, the name would surely have been leaked by now. And all of the names that have been mentioned so far, I don't think fit the criteria of what he said we were going for.
No.
Kiefer Moore was here in the Championship last season anyway, and he's probably at this level as a striker now, so that wouldn't have been really groundbreaking. Thomas Asante was, like Joe said, he probably would have been deployed more as a winger, but he was West Brom's top scorer, but he's not. Nobody would have looked at that and gone,
so they were going to sell him. So they can't be that good if they were going to sell him.
Then you look at the likes of Tom Cannon, who's decent at this level, would have been a really good signing, but hardly groundbreaking. I think the only one really that would have fit the criteria would have been someone like Jay Stansfield, but
and he's gone.
We're not going to pay that absurd amount of money. That
he's gone to Birmingham for 4 times his value.
Can we just discuss that? So, 15 million up front, guaranteed. 5 million add-ons. I mean, that's about the standard amount of money you have to pay. I think
that's a Premier League striker.
Exactly. That's exactly what THAB went for, and that's what Premier League team Ipswich spent. But Birmingham aren't in the Premier League; they're in League One. So
he's also on 45 grand a week.
What?
I didn't know that.
Sure.
No, and the League One you mean like 4 to 5 grandish, right?
No, 45.
4, 5, 3 zeros on the end.
Yeah.
See, I think people are saying that if Birmingham don't go up, they're going into administration. I think if Birmingham go up,
you get a year off FFP if you're relegated into League One. So they've got no FFP restrictions this year whatsoever, hence why they're just going all out.
But then FFP is going to come back if they go up. If they go up and have spent this much money, they're going to be screwed immediately.
But I don't know if because they have this year off, it's not counted. I don't know how it works.
Because
Darren McAnthony was tweeting about it, obviously Peterborough chairman. Somebody asked him about what he thought about Birmingham's finances for the future and stuff. And he said that you get a year off FFP when you get relegated into League One. So I don't know if that means you get it off, as in it doesn't count into your 3-year whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. They broke the transfer record in that league 3 times in one window.
Yeah. They did it 3 times in a week, didn't they?
No, they signed the 2 £4 million players, I think, earlier on in the window, and then obviously Stansfield just on deadline day.
So they've spent about, because I think the add-ons counting that current year, they've spent about almost 30 million.
Only Burnley in the Championship have spent more money than Birmingham have.
That's what happens when you've got no FFP restrictions. They had a free license and a blank checkbook to just do what they wanted, and they have.
That's just insane. I mean, that just shows you the market.
Yeah, but we couldn't compete with that. Like I think if you were going up, because apparently we did inquire about Stansfield and then just decided not to, because obviously Fulham told us the price and we went, not a chance. But we were also in for Datra Fofana, weren't we?
Late in the day.
We didn't want a loan. We wanted obviously wanted on permanent deal, but sometimes if you don't want a loan and it's the only thing that pops. Oh, and also was it Washington as well was really late.
Yeah. But after Chelsea failed to sell a player to themselves, yes, Washington was linked with us.
Yeah.
That would have been 20 million. That would have been see again, how can he be worth 20 million if he's played
25 minutes?
Yeah. It's just
crazy. But yeah, the most striking thing about that transfer that never was Chelsea failed to sell a player to a team they also own. How on earth do you manage that?
Yeah, but there's surely more to it than that.
Well, it might be medical related and stuff like that, but then who knows? Speaking of transfers, Kyle Rushworth's all right, isn't he?
We've lost Nathaniel. Yeah, I think it's a good signing. It's just confusing. Why are we signing another goalkeeper? When we're at a position where we're desperately needing goals. You see, what confused me was I watched Baz Cooper's sort of like debrief video after the transfer deadline day show. And he was like, when a goalkeeper becomes available, it's a no-brainer. And I'm sat there thinking, but that doesn't make sense because you've already got 2 goalkeepers challenging for third. So the signing of Richopi is now redundant because another player became available later on in the window. Like, you should be happy with what you've got, kind of thing. And if not, then one of those goalkeepers should have gone out on loan. You're thinking wage bill as well, because Richopi was a Champions League goalkeeper last season.
Not Richopi.
Yeah. Richopi or Pando, whichever one they wanted to obviously loan out. And I think there's quite a few players that should have been loaned out that weren't. Harry Vaughan, Sellers Fleming. I mean, he's probably going to be needed to be third striker at the minute, to be fair.
Sellers Fleming, I think, would have gone out had a striker come in earlier in the day. I think it's the same with sort of Simon's last window, where because Morton came in, we could get him out late, but a striker didn't come in. So we thought, right, we've got to keep Sellers Fleming here then. But to be honest, with the depth we've got now out wide, when Longman's back fit, I can see him being deployed as a striker. He did it in pre-season when we had nobody. So if we're in a position where, I don't know, for example, Bairstow's injured, Bedia's not in a game, Longman will get subbed on or go up there. We could put Abdush as a false 9, like Rosinha did last year, but I'm not sure how that works with with Walter's system. So
we shouldn't be doing that again.
No, we shouldn't.
Year after year, we keep playing midfielders and wingers and strikers. Why are we still doing this?
Because we don't have any strikers.
But sign a striker. This is like if you desperately need a striker and you want a striker, you can surely find the finances to get a striker. That is what I mean by that should have been the priority. Early on in the window, use your money to buy a striker before rebuilding elsewhere on the pitch. Sort out the priority. The priority is goals. We had enough players defensively. It was okay. Goals. You need to find a striker early or else you're just in competition with everybody else. And then because we haven't, it's backfired. We've got 2 strikers. The last until January. One of those is young, probably not really first team ready at the minute in Burstow. Sellers Fleming realistically isn't going to make any sort of impact, I don't think, as a lone forward. And Beddy has not really played at this level. Looks a bit of a handful, but does he look like the kind of player that's going to score 10, 15 goals? We don't realistically know yet. So a lot of this team and a lot of the signings are unknown quantities that we don't know. This window could turn out to be absolutely amazing because some of these players might score loads and create loads of goals, but they also might not because a lot of them haven't been at this level. So you have to get a striker that's been there, done that at this level, get that sorted first, and then see what money you've got left for the rest of it.
I think the last striker we spent any serious money on, I think we spent some money on Burstow, although that was, again, a no-brainer from Baz, so I don't know how much we spent on him. Probably can't be that much. I mean, I'm sure we spent a very small fee.
I think it was a couple mil we bought Burstow for.
See, I don't know. I mean, the football...
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, as said, the fee for Burstow at that price was a no-brainer, so it can't be £3-4 million.
Equally,
surely.
Every single other
I remember seeing like 2.1 mil something. I'm sure that's what was thingied somewhere.
That's what I've seen, which, I mean, compared to Stansfield, that's 10 times less. So I guess that makes sense. Maybe that is a no-brainer. Maybe that is just how much you need to spend on, a striker, and 18 million less than what that David Washington chap is rated as well. If they wanted to send him for 20 million from Chelsea. So,
well, yeah, but Chelsea bought him for 15 and then wanted to sell him to themselves for an inflated price. I don't think you can really read anything into that.
No, probably not. James Wells says, can any of the keepers play strikers?
Well, we certainly can. One of them can.
They're big lads, aren't they?
Why can't we just play 3 goalkeepers at that point? At least we'd be all right at the back.
But put Rachopi third striker, he'll do.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think we've actually spent any significant money on a striker since Adjun's taken us over, has he?
No. Nuadiko, I was going to say it was Nuadiko was the last striker we spent any big money on, probably over $1 million, or if Burstow.
He was like 3.5 mil, wasn't he, Dicko?
Something like that. Yeah.
Disgusting return.
Dreadful. Oh, dreadful.
We are quite bad at recruiting strikers, though, are we? Like,
historically,
we don't tend to do very well with finding scorers.
The last good striker we signed on a permanent deal was what? Fraser Campbell?
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, I love Tom Inge as a bloke, and he cropped up with a few goals, but he wasn't set the world alight, was he?
McGuinness had a good season in League One, didn't he? But
that's League One.
Overall.
Yeah.
Anyway, Balumi I like.
Let's talk about some of the players we have signed.
I've decided Balumi is the second coming, despite not hearing about him until 1:00 on Friday. But yeah, I love that signing. Oh my God. I've watched this lad for ages. I know all what he's about. All the 5 minutes on YouTube I've not watched.
Yeah.
Honestly, just admit it. Say it's an unknown, but you're glad there is at least a signing. It's a risk worth taking. Just be honest. Don't say he's the second coming of Christ when you didn't hear about him until 5 minutes ago, for crying out loud.
I don't really know if anyone really said that, did they?
Someone definitely did with Zidane Anusa, definitely, when that one was linked. I'm certain someone said that.
For anyone who doesn't know who he is, he's a 22 Algerian winger. I think right-sided, cuts in on the left. He's got 7 goals in the Portuguese division. And, Portugal, that's a relatively decent level of football. Young winger, goal scorer. Can't be that bad. And we haven't seen any news about how much money the deal costs, so maybe not that much as well. So
We also haven't had any news about him potentially getting a ban or anything like that. And our benchmark for the Portuguese league and wingers is a certain man we loaned out there last season by the name of Jason Lakilo, who went to FC Vizela last year. They were relegated, and Lakilo's return for them
he scored one at least, didn't he?
11 games, 1 goal.
Well, that's just more him, though, isn't it? He's just banging.
Yeah, so, and Balumi's record last year was considerably better.
Yeah.
It was what?
7 goals, 5 assists.
Overall, Firenze played 41 games and scored 7. Last season, let me have a quick look. He played 33 games, scored 7 goals. So he played 3 times the games of Jason Lakilo and scored 7 times the goals. So that's our benchmark. He's at least better than Lakilo.
Nice. I mean, I could have told you that.
And Vizela, interestingly, also promoted to the Liga Portugal, the Portuguese Primeira Liga, in the same season in the second tier. Firenze finished 10th, Vizela went straight back down.
Longman's better than Lakilo, so it's not really a high bar.
Yeah, I mean, you can say
And
anyone is
provide insight, and it's the only insight I've got.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's one to look out for. Probably won't play over Kamara.
But it's depth. We have no depth, do we? Especially in the wings. That's why we had to recall Jarvis. I think the problem that we've had this month is that we've got no one on the bench to come on and change the game. Our strongest players are starting. And then if it doesn't work, we're bringing on young players that haven't really played at this level and expecting them to come in and make an impact. And they do what they can, like Sellers Fleming's cross resulted in the penalty at Bristol, and Jarvis has been positive when he's come on, but they're not going to come on and make the kind of difference that somebody like Abu Kamara and Balumi might do. And I think, again, we're very one-pronged in terms of our attack at the minute. We always go down Miller's side, which then leads to teams double up on him, and then you can tell he lags as the game goes on, he gets tired, he makes mistakes, and then we hook him off, and we lose any sort of attacking threat we've got. Whereas if we put Kamara on the right-hand side, you've got 2 wingers now that we can use and go down different sides. And then you've got, say, Balumi on the bench to come on and make a difference. I imagine Longman will be the one that comes on for Miller when he's back fit. So you've got now,
Cynic
to bring on. Cynic, I think, should have just I don't know why he's still here. Just sell him. Just admit defeat on that transfer and get rid of him.
Send him off the same club as Lakilo. Just get him gone.
I bet he's on a huge wage bill, and he's
we were saying last week, weren't we, Nathaniel, that he's probably the highest paid player at the football club, and he's like 7th choice on the wings.
Awful transfer, really. But just get rid of him, man. I can't understand why he's still there. But yeah, there's a comment here. So Connolly, I was talking to Joel about this. Give him a short-term 6-month contract till January. If he can stay fit, give him another 6 months to the end of the season. If he stays fit in that time, maybe offer him a year. But we need a third option. Yes, Connolly's always injured, but if it's a 6-month deal, it's like a very short-term contract. He's a different
type of player. Burstow and Bedia look like big physical lads, whereas Connolly can get in behind. He's a bit quicker.
And we know Connolly scored goals. He did it for us last season. He scored 9. And he missed half the season with injury.
We might be the only club he can score goals at.
Yeah, evidently. So, I'd literally just say, right, 6 months till January. Sort your off-the-pitch behaviour out and stay fit, and we'll give you another 6 months. But it looks like he's off to Sparta Prague, so I think he'd probably rather go there. That's stag do capital of Europe, and he'll perfectly fit, probably.
Yeah.
Final thing from me on Balumi. I'm the squad number nerd of the group, and I was having a little look through his squad number history. Everywhere he's been, he has worn number 62. So if that carries on here, might we see our first Hull City number 62 ever? Not even the academy squad numbers that get allocated at the start of a season go that low.
That's a big squad. Chelsea have got quite a few players. We've had 62 recently.
Chelsea have got some with 3 numbers on the back.
Yeah. Triple team bus, that one.
So that's Balumi covered. What do we think about the signing of Abu Kamara then? Because he's come in, mostly played for Portsmouth, and I think Norwich fans were sort of happy to see the back of him, but I think that's more because he didn't want to play for them rather than is a bad player. Part of Portsmouth league title winning squad. That's pretty exciting.
I'm really excited about Kamara. I think it's exactly the kind of winger we needed. Someone who
this year's Philogene, fingers crossed.
Yeah, he's got a pedigree of scoring and creating goals. He got 10 goals, 11 assists last season for Portsmouth when they won the league. Yes, it was at the level below, but how many players in League One that do well and then come up here and tend to carry on doing well? He's quite high. Obviously, Scott Twine is maybe an example of the other side of it, where they rip the League One apart, but they can't really do it in the Championship.
Wilkes.
But I think Wilkes is a very good example. He scored the 9-minute winner against Huddersfield. Did Wilkes?
It's a legend, great goal.
But I think he again, like I said earlier, gives us now two different options. So we can go down Miller's side or we can go down Kamara's. And I think he's going to be pacey, tricky, and he's going to cause problems for defences. And it's exactly the kind of profile winger we needed because it was what this squad was missing. And like I say, if you're looking at stats, which a lot of people tend to do nowadays, last season he was superb. So I think it's a really good signing, especially when you see players like Sariki Dembele. Like he'd have been one I'd have loved to go to Oxford. Like really obscure club you'd expect him to sign for. And I think Karamoko Dembele, who I'm a huge fan of. I think he went to, where did he go? Somewhere in the Championship. QPR, I think.
Well, he was at Blackpool last year in League One, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he did brilliant. I think he got 13 goals and quite a few assists as well. So yeah, it's look, they're the kind of players that you need. You need these tricky wingers that can win you a game with a moment of magic and create something out of nothing. And I think Kamara fits that bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very excited about that one. Casey Palmer. That's an interesting one because it didn't seem like we were in for a number 10, and then we signed one. And he's been around the Championship quite a while. He's been to Huddersfield, Swansea, Bristol, Coventry, Derby, and that might be it. But quite a few Championship clubs and now Hull. Yeah, I said Huddersfield, I think.
Where's he been? Yeah, Huddersfield, Blackburn, Derby,
Bristol. I don't think I said Blackburn. So quite
Bristol City, Swansea, and Coventry. Yeah, they're the ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, I think he's probably done better for Coventry than anyone else. He scored a great free kick against us last year. Hopefully, it's not just a case like we had with Liam Walsh, who almost scored a free kick against us. And oddly, he's gone to Luton. I don't know why Luton want Liam Walsh.
Yes, that's a strange one, isn't it? Well, I got sent it at the time, and I was hang on.
Why?
How was Liam Walsh backed himself a move? How has he fallen upwards? If we're using a modern, trendy phrase.
Exactly, he certainly has. But Palmer, that makes me interested, and it's time because no combined lineup this week, but I have made a lineup of the Hull City squad with the substitutes, and it's not 100% on where the players are. But the main one I'm confused about of who or where he's going to play is Amur, because he's not played well on the wing, but we've just signed another number 10, and Mayerland being German, Volta's probably going to want to play him. So where does Amur go?
I think they're planning on using Palmer as a right winger option.
But we've just signed, so we've signed 3 right wingers on deadline day. Doesn't make sense to me. That is the one where I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, but it sounds like we're planning on using Kamara maybe as a striker if needs be.
Why?
Which is
yeah, that's what Baz tweeted. He said, I think that's the plan.
Well, he's not going to play over Bedier though, so.
No, but I think it's an option for strikes. That's probably why they brought him in. You then it changes it then because you can put sort of Kamara in the striker bracket as well, and then you can have Omer as the central one with Malem, and then Palmer back out the right hand side. So it's just another season of square pegs in round holes.
Yeah, I'm sure wingers probably do have sides that they prefer to be on. Here I've got Cynic, Longman, and Jarvis on the left wing, but I think wingers, if you tell them to play on either wing, I'm sure they can make a go of it. And most wingers probably like to cut in and shoot with a stronger foot. But with Bedier and Burstow being sort of physical presences in the box, we might want them to actually go on the outside and cross with their stronger foot on the other side. So I think both could work. So I'm sure Kamara would be used as a winger. What do we think our strongest team is?
I think Rushworth in goal.
Mm-hmm.
Coyle, Jones, Hughes, Giles.
Yeah.
Zambrano, Slater, Abdush, middle. Kamara, Miller, Badia.
Yeah. I think there's a few spots in there, but not many where you'd have much debate. I think Drama's looked good, but Kyle's been even better.
I'd be tempted to play Drama or Coyle as a left back. Giles is just, for me, for the amount we spent on him as well, has really unimpressed me so far.
And you've just whinged about square pegs in round holes.
I know, but Drama can play as left back. He's one of those who's comfortable playing as left back. He did it like it's similar to Ethan Laird. He can play on either side, and what's the Plymouth fullback called? He can do it as well. But
Mumba.
Yeah, Mumba. It's like, but for me, Giles is just, he's not a £4.5 million player.
No.
Definitely not yet. Hopefully now that the transfer speculation around him and stuff, he might pick up. But,
well, yeah, up until just a few days before deadline day, we still thought that Middlesbrough wanted to sign him, but I think Middlesbrough got a left back, didn't they? Matt put that one to bed. Although they never bid for him, it was probably a rumour at the start of the window, and it might not have ever actually been on the table.
Think the rumour never really went beyond they wanted him. Yeah. That's what the rumour was. And
of course they would.
I think they did want him, but they just never bid for him because they thought, realistically, we're going to want some decent money for him because we just spent £4.5 million on him, so they're not just going to let him go for nothing.
At least that, yeah.
And I think when it got towards the end of the window, I think you could tell he was definitely staying because we weren't linked with any left backs. So you'd have presumed we'd have started looking at replacements if he was going to ever be gone, which we never really did. Well, Coventry fans have described Palmer as exactly that, and even Mark Robbins, when you read his comments on Palmer, he's on his day can be unplayable, but also can just be a passenger in a game. So there's no real middle ground with Palmer. He's either electric or not there.
Apologies, everyone. I put Simons on that graphic twice rather than Puerta, although I don't know whether I'd be starting Puerta. In other news, Bayer Leverkusen have lost their unbeaten streak. So clearly, they lost it as soon as they gave Puerta to us. So clearly, he's instrumental in that run.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what more evidence do you need? Anything else? I think we don't really want to talk about Sheffield United just yet, but there was a comment earlier on I saw, how many games does it have to be before we get concerned without a win? I wouldn't be concerned if we didn't beat Sheffield United, no matter how bad they were last year, the parachute payment team. I think if we don't win any of the next 2 games after that, is it Cardiff and Stoke? So for, again, teams
so Cardiff
to beat.
Yeah,
I'd be concerned then.
But I mean, we've got end of October, early November, our 2 consecutive games, a Derby away and Portsmouth at home. If by that stage, after those 2 games, we are still struggling massively and we fail to beat either of those, then I think, well, it's all performance dependent, isn't it? If there's promising signs against teams like Sheffield United, and I think we play Luton in that run as well, who have just come down. If there's promising signs, then it's a different kind of concern. It's okay, we've still not got the results, but we can see progress. But if we're still dire, and even after the 2 international breaks, we don't look like scoring if it's not from a set piece or just a pot shot like Louis Coyle's against.
Well, we don't look like scoring from set pieces, though, do we? The short corners are worse than Rossini's.
You will never convince me, ever, that a short corner is worth doing. Why on earth do you send your big players up into the box for a free, unchallenged cross, and you choose not to use it? Never, ever understand a short corner. Someone tried to tell me the other day that statistically short corners are better.
Was it?
They are.
In what sense? Because if they were,
you're more likely to score.
in the sample method used. So if that's the case, then why aren't more teams using them? Why aren't set piece coaches going into clubs and saying, "Look, you're more likely to score from short corners, so we should be doing them," but they don't.
Yeah, I don't know. We might not have the players to do it for some reason.
That's another thing. I think we need.
They are better. However, for us, I will always say, clearly not, because we can't even get the cross in when we take it short. If you take it short and cross it in, you can comprehend that. But we can't. Every time we pass it short, we do like 5 or 6 passes, and then the opportunity is gone.
Yeah, I think you can sort of justify using them every now and again just to mix it up.
Yeah,
but
mix it up.
Time, like it just builds frustration for the fans when you're watching it, and then for the 4th corner of the game, you're doing it again. Everyone's like, "Why are we doing that?" Because it's even with us, we don't even do it particularly well. I think the plan for us is to pass it short, to pass it to the edge of the box, and then cross it to the far post for McLaughlin to run on. That's what we tried about 3 or 4 times against Leeds. He nearly got on the end of one of them. But to me, it's not even like the decent crossers that are doing it. So realistically, we should be giving it to Giles or Omer or somebody in that position to do it. Not we're giving it to Zambrano. So and the most frustrating thing is we play a short corner, we give it to Giles, who'd be in a perfect opportunity to just whip it in with his left, and he'd move it onto his right. He'd move it onto his weak foot and then go backwards. And you're just looking at it going, you just want to rag your hair out. It's bizarre. Can't understand it, me. Never will. Short corners need to be in the bin. Should be banned.
Yeah, I guess you could ban them, couldn't you?
I think full stop we could do with a set piece coach.
We've been dire at set pieces for years.
We always have been. I can remember Bowen and Grzycki never getting a corner past the first man. Not too long ago. And our set piece frailties were apparent long before that.
Well, so
League One was the last time we were decent at set pieces.
I think the fact, though, Honeyman and Elder, their set pieces became garbage when we got promoted. So I think it was just a dreadful defending in League One. That is why we scored so many.
Come up against better defenders in it, and you've got to get your delivery spot on. But we've got really good deliveries of the ball. It just still doesn't make sense. But
to let Giles take them and Emma, they're good. I mean, Giles used to. That's why he got so many assists, because he actually used to take corners. I think for Cardiff especially, and I think we let Emma take them. I guess it makes sense, because if Giles is taking it and you should in-swing them, he's actually right wing and he's a left back. It's quite a long position for him to go back. But
to take the out-swinging ones on the left, and then you have Abdush doing the in-swingers on the right.
That works.
Or put Coyle on those ones, because him and Giles, I'd say, are the 2 best crossers of the ball we've got.
Yeah. Anything else before we wrap up?
No. Keep the faith, up the Tigers.
Be patient, guys. Just chill a bit, I think. Which is tough for me to say, because I'm as emotional as the next guy. But it is just perspective, I think, a little bit with entire new team, entire new style of play. All these lads have never played together. Like, we've just got to, if it's still bad in a few months' time, then questions should be asked. But I think at the minute we've just got to sort of let it play out a bit, because look, I thought we were really good against Leeds. I think anybody that was asking for Watt to be sacked after that is insane, because I thought that was the best. Certainly for the first hour, I thought we were really good. Obviously, the first goal came from not stopping the cross and Maka just letting him get across the front of him. But how many times do we get punished for poor defending, whereas we don't punish other teams for their mistakes? How many times did we win the ball high up in Leeds' half and didn't make the most of it? Do you know what I mean? Decision making in the final third is always our Achilles heel. So hopefully with the improved talent we've signed, especially the 2 new wingers on deadline day, we see a bit of an improvement. But I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think it is bad when you've not won a single game yet, even if you include the friendlies in that. But there's signs of improvement, which is the important thing. Like I said, I expected to lose to Leeds. We just wanted a decent performance, and I think we got that.
Well said. Well, thanks for joining us. Everyone who's commented in and liked, thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, also, there's 131 people currently watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and everyone hit like.
Hit that bell button.
Yeah,
never miss an episode.
It doesn't cost you a penny, and it's the easiest way to get notified whenever we go live, so you don't miss episodes and stuff. And obviously, we have the the Discord community, which is still our pinned tweet. So if you want to go to our social media and obviously just go join the link there, you can hit up in the community. There's a lot of people in there that tweet on, that talk, on match days and things. We've got guest requests tab, so you can come on and ask to come on as a guest at any time, because I think a lot of us have busy lives at the minute, and there's appearances are very iffy in here and there and everywhere at the minute. So there's a lot of opportunity to come on. We've got plans to do stuff with the pod and get further and further. So just subscribe, be a part of it.
Tiger Talk.
Yeah, Tigers Talk on Wednesdays. Obviously the live radio show that goes out on Humber Wave with Adi and Paul. It's something that we're going to try and consistently do every single week. So obviously, if you're a radio listener, you can listen on there, but it will also come out on our usual platforms, unless we've got a match on a Wednesday, like we had a few weeks back with Wednesday, and we pre-record it. But yeah,
when StreamYard just broke for a day.
Yeah. So if anyone was waiting for Tigers Talk last week, it was literally StreamYard. The way we stream this out to everybody, the website was just completely down, and we couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't get on, so it was just on radio. But those kind of things out of our control. But yeah, we will try every single Wednesday to have obviously that out as well. So we have the main episodes on Sundays, Tiger Talks on Wednesdays, and then if you're notified by subscribing, you'll see them all.
Yeah. Well said, Ant. Thanks again, and we'll be back very soon.